Hello, boys and girls. Here we are again with a great Bible story. I must admit, the first time that I read this story, I thought, oh, this is so great. I'm going to share this with the kids. And then I looked at another Bible story and another Bible story, and I felt the same way. But I think I'm going to go back to the first one in the book. This is a new book. These stories never go out of style. And I love the way that Jesus teaches us in a way that we can maybe think about it in our minds and picture it. And I'm going to start with the story of the foolish farmer. You can find it in Luke, and where is that? New Testament, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke. Yes, Luke chapter 12, verses 16 down to 21. Are you ready? One day, Jesus told a story, and this is what he said. Once upon a time, there was a farmer. He had a big garden, and lots of wheat plants grew in his garden. He had many helpers, and they all worked for him. He had a nice house, and he had many pennies. See them all sitting there, and they're all stacked up? Now, God gave him his garden, but the farmer didn't think about that. God gave him his helpers, but the farmer didn't think about that. God gave him his house, but the farmer didn't think about that. God gave him his pennies, see all of them? But the farmer did not think about that. And one day he said, "Look at my big garden. Look at all my wheat plants. It's time to cut down the wheat. But where shall I put it? My barns are too little." The farmer thought and thought and thought. He said, "I know. I will tear down my barns and I will build bigger barns. Then I will have room for all of my wheat." The farmer was still thinking. He said, "And then I will not work anymore. I will eat, I will drink, I will play every day for a long time." But the farmer would not live a long, long time. He didn't think about that. Somebody else would get the things in his barns. He didn't think about that. He had many things, but he was not one of God's friends. He didn't think about that. He was a foolish, foolish farmer. It's at our last page, and it says, "What did you learn? It's better to be God's friend than to have a lot of things." And I agree with that statement. But there's something in this story that I also caught, and I hope you did as well. Probably 5 or 6 pages in the story, it says he didn't think about that. He didn't think. So that made me think there is a verse in God's Word that will help us to think about the right things. And you can find it in the New Testament book of Philippians. I actually have this verse on a very special Bible that my daughters gave me, and it's on the cover. Let me read this to you. Philippians 4, and I'm going to read the 9th verse as well, 4, 8, and 9. "Finally, my brothers and sisters, always think about what is true. Think about what is noble, right, and pure. Think about what is lovely and worthy of respect. If anything is excellent or worthy of praise, think about those kinds of things. Do what you have learned or received or heard from me. Follow my example. The God who gives peace will be with you." And boys and girls, I really need to think about those words. Think about what is true. This coming weekend, my plans were to spend the weekend with my mom, who's in a nursing home. And because of what's happened in our nation, I have not been able to see her, and my plans were to go see her. But my plans have changed according to the government and the people there at the nursing home. So I'm going to go to another plan that I believe God has for me, and that is to go to the nursing home, but I'm going to stay on the outside and talk to her through the window, probably by phone. I'm going to just trust that God has all of this under control, and this is what He wants me to do. I have placed my trust in Him. I want to tell you that, boys and girls, He loves us very much, and that I love you, and I love reading to all of you. I hope that you have learned something from today's story.